Sarah Adewale grew up in a house that felt more like a prison than a home. She had food on the table, clothes, and a good education. But the walls of her father's house were cold, just like his heart. Her father, Mr. Adewale, was a man of few words. He never smiled, never hugged her, never showed any form of affection. Sarah had learned early on that asking questions were dangerous, especially questions about her mother. She tried once when she was 10. Daddy, where is mommy? The silence that followed was so heavy that she felt she had swallowed stones. Then came his voice, sharp, firm, and final. Don't ever ask me that again. She never did, but the question never left her heart. Growing up without a mother left a void in Sarah's. She had no idea what love looked like. She had never seen a man cherish a woman, never witnessed tenderness between two people, and never knew what fatherly love looked like. She feared love because she had never known it, and she feared her father so much. By the time Sarah was in her 20s, she had built walls around her heart so high that no one could get through. She had admirers, but she never let them get close. Love to her was a weakness. It was a gamble she was not willing to take. Then she met Ken, a graduate of chemical engineering from Obafemi Awolowo University. Ken was so humble, despite him being a graduate. He still helped his mom in the supermarket. He was a very nice guy and was very different from other men who had approached her. Sarah at that time was in her 200 level in the university, but she was never allowed to stay in the hostel. Severally, Ken had approached her, but he wasn't pushy, wasn't aggressive. He was patient, kind, and had a way of making her feel safe, something she had never felt before. One evening, as they sat on the bench at a popular park in their street, Ken turned to her. You always hold back, Sarah. She stiffened. What do you mean? I mean, you never let anyone close. You act like you don't care, but I see it in your eyes. You're afraid. Sarah scoffed. Afraid of what? Love, he said. His words hit her like a slap. Sarah looked straight into his eyes. Love isn't real. People pretend. They say they love you, but they lie. And when they are done using you, they leave. Ken studied her for a long moment before saying, not all men are like that, Sarah. Some of us are different and we stay. But Sarah wasn't still convinced. Ken continued to show Sarah patience and care, but she couldn't shake the fear that he was like every other man, like her father. One evening, after an argument with her father, she lashed out at Ken, who came to visit her. Can't you ever stop? What do you want from me? Please leave my house. You men are the same, very deceptive. Ken looked hot but calm. I care about you, Sarah. I hope you heal from what is eating you up. His words stayed with her, but fear kept her from accepting them. Then one day, she was restless. She was unhappy. She was angry. She decided to search for something, something at all, something to brighten up her mood, or something to prove why she's actually so bitter. That day, it rained heavily. She stormed into her father's room and started searching for things. Then she found something unexpected. A wooden box, old and covered in dust. Curious, she lifted the lid. Inside, she found a bundle of letters, all addressed to her father. Her hands trembled as she picked one up and read, Ade, I never wanted to leave Sarah. She's my child too, and I love her. I have begged you to let me see her, but you shut me out. I hope one day she would know that I never abandoned her. Please, don't turn her heart against me. The words, blood before her eyes as tears welled up. She flipped through all the letters, all from the same person, Rebecca Ade, her mother. Her breath hinged. Her mother hadn't left willingly. Her father had kept her away. Sarah stormed into the living room with tears, gripping the letters in her hands. You lied to me, father, she screamed, her voice shaking with rage. Mr. Ade, who had been reading his newspaper, slowly lowered it. His eyes darkened when he saw what she was holding. Where did you get those from? He demanded, his tone dangerously low. In your study, she snapped. All my life, you made me believe my mother left us. But she never did. She never, father. You pushed her away. Her father's face hardened. Sarah, don't blame me. You don't understand. Then make me understand, father, she yelled. Tell me why you took my mother away from me and never allowed me have access to her. The room was filled with thick silence before Mr. Ade finally spoke, his voice heavy with anger and regret. Because I was afraid. I was afraid that she would take you away from me. She wanted to leave Sarah. She wanted to take you, and I couldn't let her. So I kept you. I kept you safe from her. Sarah stared at her father, shook her head in disbelief. You didn't keep me safe, father. You kept me in a cage. I never felt safe. I never felt loved while growing up. You should have left me with my mother. I would have been better off with her. Mr. Ade turned away. Her words hit him hard that he realized how much he had broken his daughter, his only daughter. Sarah had spent her entire life thinking her mother abandoned her. Now, she realized the truth. Her father had been the one who abandoned love, and she had been living with the same fear. Sarah knew she had a choice to make. Finding out about her mother shattered her. She needed closure and realized she couldn't continue pushing people away. Love was real, and not everyone left. That evening, she went to Ken's house. He opened the door, surprised to see her. Tears streamed down her face. Ken's heart skipped. What's the problem, Sarah? Why are you crying? He ushered her in and hugged her tightly. I found the truth, she whispered in tears. My mom didn't leave me. That was all she said. Ken was still confused, but he allowed her settle. After some minutes of making her calm, he asked her what the problem was, and she narrated everything to Ken. Ken felt so bad about the absence of her mother. No child deserved to stay away from his or her parent. But he was happy she had found out about her mother. Sarah looked into his eyes and said, I don't want to run away from love anymore. Ken smiled and held her hands. Sarah, everyone deserves to be loved. And you need to start accepting love. Sarah felt relieved that day, her heart lightened by Ken's words. She went home that day, accompanied by Ken. The next day, Sarah reached out to her mother. The reunion was filled with tears and long overdue explanations. Rebecca wept as she held her daughter for the first time in years. I thought you hated me, Sarah admitted. Never, Rebecca whispered in tears. I wanted you every single day, my daughter. Sarah also confronted her father one last time. She didn't excuse his actions, but she forgave him because she had learned that holding on to pain only makes you its prisoner. Sarah finally understood love. It wasn't control, it wasn't fear, it wasn't silence. It was what Ken had shown her: patience, kindness, and commitment. On a quiet evening, as they walked down the street, Ken turned to her. Do you still believe love is a lie? Sarah smiled. No, because I have found a love like yours. And for the first time in my life, I feel loved and I am open to love. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this beautiful story. Please do also like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories. See you guys in my next video. Until then, stay splendid.